right, welcome to a bonus live edition of Locked On Senators. Vladimir Tarasenko is coming to the nation's capital. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller, and just a quick prelude, and then we're going to roll this in like a typical Locked On Senators. So Pillsy, thank you for being here, my friend, and always good to get a late July drop of Sens news.
Whew, I was not ready for this to happen today. We heard some rumblings that it was in the works. We had that random Twitter account say they were pretty sure it was happening, and you gave them the 48 hours. All right, let's see if it happens. And hey, I was about to say credit to them, but I should probably know the Twitter account before I say credit to them. Do you have it handy so we can give them a quick shout out, Ross? Or
it would be right of me to have it handy. I do not.
All right, cruising right past then.
As I hit the button, Ethan, aka the People's Insider, credit to you, my friend. Also,
there we go.
Great timing in terms of us. We're going to have an episode tomorrow afternoon. So this will basically be a Thursday episode posted to the audio form. And with that, coming up on today's Locked On Senators, Vladimir Tarasenko, you are an Ottawa Senator.
Woo! How is he going to fit into this group of the Sens core? What line will he play on? Who will he play with on the power play? So much to get into here.
And also, how's he going to fit in financially? Gets a $5 million contract. What kind of cap space is left? We'll get into all that and more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome inside episode 848 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. A reminder that you can like and subscribe wherever you download your podcast. We're also free and available on YouTube. Today is Thursday, July 27th, and Pillsy, Vladimir Tarasenko, 1 year, $5 million. If this had happened on Canada Day, how close is it to the top story?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could have been one of the top stories. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Vladimir Tarasenko was the best remaining UFA up to this point, and the Sens grabbed him. So it's an awesome feeling. What a time to be a Sens fan after years of, bottom of the barrel free agents, veteran defenseman signings to multiple years, bungled trades, trying to make this move. And now it seems like the Ottawa Senators not only are making the proper moves, but they're making kind of like, for me, Ross, this almost seems like a bonus move. Like, I was prepared to go into the upcoming season without Tarasenko and with the roster they had. Now, was I totally stoked about it? Maybe not, but I thought there was definitely a good roster up ahead. And then adding Tarasenko just puts another sniper into the mix. Like, say what you want about Tarasenko, and last season maybe wasn't his best. I mean, mind you, there was some injuries that happened as well, but this is a guy that's only one season removed. Like, the year before last, he had 82 points in 75 games. Like, this guy can still get the job done, and he's a consistent 30 goal scorer and one of the most elite wrist shots in the entire league. So anytime you can add that guy to your team, that's a good sign.
Also getting a guy with a Stanley Cup on his resume with the St. Louis Blues in 2019. He also co-led that team in goal scoring with Jaden Schwartz, 14 goals during the St. Louis Blues' improbable run to the Stanley Cup. 11 goals in 26 games that season, 90 shots in the 26 games. That's what you're getting with Vladimir Tarasenko. You're getting a shooter. You're also getting a player who, like a lot of the Russians, plays his off wing. So you're getting a right winger who shoots left. How do you think that'll impact where he plays in this lineup? Because now the right side's pretty loaded all of a sudden after years of being a weak spot up front.
Yeah, obviously my initial reaction to the Tarasenko news was excitement. And then a minute later, I'm like, okay, like I start doing the premature lineup projeculations, as Williams Marshall likes to call it, and trying to fit where this guy's going to go. And Ross, I got to be honest, I couldn't really pick one spot that felt right. And I jumbled the lines different ways. And, this is one of those good problems. I think anywhere you put him, I think you could have success. But I'm not quite convinced I have the perfect spot for him just yet.
The only problem with me being so firm on keeping the top line together is now I'm limiting myself.
Yeah, I've come off that, Ross. I think Brady, Timmy, and Giroux is probably not going to happen anymore.
I don't know if I like that.
No, I don't know if I like it either, because the thing is, we'll get back to Tarasenko, but I really feel like Norris and Tkachuk could use a winger that could take faceoffs for them. And if you put Tkachuk and Giroux together on no matter what line it is, you're using both those options in one line. So I don't know.
I'm so curious, and something we're going to get into in the third segment is how this affects Shane Pinto. The lone one-way expected forward without a contract. Igor Sokolov still needs a contract as well. But when it comes to Shane Pinto, can you almost use Tarasenko as a convincing factor for him to take a one-year contract, saying you're either playing with Batherson or Tarasenko this year, sign 1 year at a more limited salary, and then next year the numbers should pop theoretically, a year older and a year more experience after burning a year and then missing a year. He's only played one season through his entry-level contract. Yeah. I wonder if that goes into the negotiating, but either way, it seems like somebody's going to have to be on the way out, with Vladimir Tarasenko making $5 million, leaving the Senators with about $32,000 in cap space. When's the last time they had $32,000 in cap space? This is an unbelievable kind of mind-bending situation that started last year with Claude Giroux. This is back-to-back seasons where a legit free agent comes to Ottawa.
Yep.
Vladimir Tarasenko reportedly turned down contracts from the Carolina Hurricanes, the San Jose Sharks, and I believe I'm missing a third team there as well.
I think I heard Florida.
Okay. Well, how's Florida got any cap space?
Yeah, so maybe there wasn't anything there. And I think Habs fans were trying to pump up that they were in the running too. But that could have been the case, because I think Vladimir Tarasenko, what he's trying to do this year is kind of the Taylor Hall to Buffalo type deal. All right, I can't find the long-term deal I want. I can't find a proper fit. There's no cap space left for me in certain teams. So I'm just going to get a one-year deal at a decent dollar amount and try to put myself in a good position to succeed, to get a better contract later on. But I want to go back to Pinto quickly, because
let's save it. Let's do Tarasenko. I want to do a full segment on Shane Pinto, because
yeah, honestly, there's a lot to get into. Okay, I'll save it.
You can't talk about this Tarasenko signing without that. So I understand where you're coming from, but let's let the fans know what kind of player Vladimir Tarasenko is going to be for this Senators team. I don't think anyone caught my my joke here on Twitter. As I set it up, I will say Brady Tkachuk tweeting out Tarasenko show back in 2015. Grew up a St. Louis Blues fan. How's a little honeymoon gift for Brady Tkachuk getting to find out that Vladimir Tarasenko is coming to town?
Yeah, I mean, that's all the players have to be buzzing right now. Like, if I could see, I would love to see group chats from them. Just like, all right, here comes Vladimir Tarasenko, a consistent 30 goal scorer. And like I mentioned, like, honestly, one of the best wrist shots in the entire league. And I was watching his highlights, his Ranger highlights, which wasn't a whole lot of games. But I totally forgot about him pulling the Forsberg move on the Sens. Like, this guy is not just a sniper. Like, he's got soft hands. I think a lot of people are kind of undermining his playmaking ability as well. That's the thing. Like, with such an elite shot like that, I feel like teams and defensemen, they cheat on his shot a little, and then he's able to make a nice play to set up an open man. So I just think with Tarasenko, look, I don't want to say definitively he's going to replace Alex DeBrincat's goal scoring, but Alex DeBrincat's goal scoring as a Senator, 27 goals, that's pretty doable.
Did you catch this?
Oh, now I see where you're going with here. Those are Alex DeBrincat's numbers.
Yeah, hopefully better than
nice.
mine. 31 there, dog at the end, right? Come on, that was a dead giveaway there.
Nice, that is good. I like that. I like it.
Thank you. But who is Vladimir Tarasenko best suited to play with? Let us know in the comments. And by the way, at the end of this show, we are doing a live show. If you're listening to this audio form, you can join us wherever you get your podcast 5 days a week, Locked On Senators. And whenever immediate news breaks, we will be there to take you through each and every step of the way. The comments are flying in. We'll get to them at the end of the show, but we've got much more to get into the fit of Vladimir Tarasenko, some concerns potentially, and more. That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel is the online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's the number one sportsbook in North America. And guys, if you're able to, don't walk, run to those FanDuel Ottawa Senators playoff chances. They're still, Ross, before we started this, I did that, and they were at plus 112. I put a couple units into that. Oh, where's it at now? Is it at the same?
I'm looking right now over at FanDuel. FanDuel is our favorite spot for all this great stuff, and it all matters to who's putting in what. So that means now the Ottawa Senators are still plus 112, so you can go get that right now. Plus 112. I like that with the Vladimir Tarasenko signing.
I feel pretty good about that. That's for sure. So you can bet futures, hockey, basketball, football, lots of futures to get into. Or if you want some immediate reaction, baseball is happening. You can take your first swing at MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet in bonus bets up to $200. All you have to do is sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
Today's episode is brought to you as well by the friends at Shawarma Palace. You know, we love our friends at Shawarma Palace. What better way to celebrate signing Vladimir Tarasenko than going to your nearest Shawarma Palace? There's 7 locations in Ottawa. You're never too far away. But if you're too lazy to go to one, you can have it delivered right to you with Uber Eats. We love Shawarma Palace. They are a day one sponsor. Been a great relationship with them. They do the giveaways throughout the season, and now time to pay them back. Let's go in, get fuel filled at Shawarma Palace. You can go on Rideau Street. You can go on Bank Street. You can go in Orleans at Carleton University Food Court. You're never too far away. So eat like a king, eat like a queen. Go to Shawarma Palace, any of their 7 Ottawa locations. Get the extra garlic. You deserve it. Head to Shawarma Palace today. Shawarma Palace, Ottawa on Instagram as well. Head over there to Shawarma Palace. All right, Pilsy. Things I would do for a Shawarma Palace platter right now. Extra garlic. Things I would do. But I'll settle for Vladimir Tarasenko being a member of the Ottawa Senators. Where do you put him? Day one.
Here we go. Right now, this is my top nine. I think the bottom line we're not going to concern ourselves with, and that's pretty much set anyway. So tell me if you love this or hate it. I've got Brady with Timmy and Tarasenko. Then I've got Ridley Gregg with Norris and Giroux. And then a third line of Kubalik, Pinto, and Batherson.
Wow.
What are our feelings on that?
I don't hate it. It's different. I know that I'm a bit of a stickler here wanting Claude Giroux on the top line. I really do. I just had too much fun watching those 3 last year. And I think that you can still make the shifts necessary in the middle 6 to be a good team. I noticed you left out Matthew Joseph, which could be a team
weird
to the third segment that we'll get to. But I almost just put maybe.
Yeah, see, this is what was happening to me. I spent 10 minutes erasing, copy and pasting, and moving things around because I couldn't settle on one perfect way. This was the option I felt best with.
I think I'm putting Tarasenko with Pinto on the third line to start.
Wow.
Just to spread it out, because last year the Sens were really top heavy. I think it's fine to have him on the third line.
Here's why I'm not even considering doing that. Pinto had a really tough time playing with Alex DeBrincat and Drake Batherson. Neither of those guys very good defensively. If there's one knock on Vladimir Tarasenko, it's that he's all offense and not even just not good defensively, but a bit of a liability defensively. So I would hate to I don't want to say anchor, that's the wrong word when you're adding a 30-goal scorer, but I would hate to put more defensive responsibilities on Shane Pinto by putting a guy like that on his line. That's why I even hesitated to put Batherson and Pinto together, because for whatever reason, that just didn't work last year. But my mind shift to that was in a third line role, that might work a little bit better.
But I don't know if Kubalik's the answer on the third line. Then maybe you'll want.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But my kind of idea was get him on that third line, so maybe that's not they're not going up against other teams' top six.
I like the idea of Ridley Gregg with Josh Norris and Claude Giroux.
See, I more did that to get him with Claude Giroux. Like Claude Giroux seemed like Ridley Gregg's uncle. Like he was doing everything to help that kid out. He was trying so hard to get him his first goal. It seemed like those two guys really got along. We know Ridley Gregg's kind of Philly connection with his dad playing there a long time. So I just think that that's a duo that could work. And I'm really stuck on this idea of having one of Giroux or Brady with Timmy and Norris. I don't think you can afford to have Timmy and Norris without one of those guys available to them.
Yeah, that's fair. Looking back at last season for Vladimir Tarasenko, his most common line mates were Robert Thomas when he was in St. Louis and Mika Zibanejad when he was in New York. It was actually Zibanejad, Panarin, and Tarasenko. So he's no stranger to playing with the team's best players, and I think that could be a fit. I'm sure Brady would love that, because I did some reading on Tarasenko where he's the type of player, because he shoots so much and so accurately, that he creates so many rebounds that he almost helps his other teammates get better shooting percentages. And who better than Brady Tkachuk to have that increased opportunity around the net?
That's why I got him there. And Ross, I don't think Vladimir Tarasenko and his agent would be pretty stoked if he landed on the third line on the Ottawa Senators.
It's fair. I mean, that's just trying to spread out the wealth. And I do think Batherson's going to have a much better season than he did last year without kind of the ankle bothering him as much as he said it did early parts of last season. So I guess that's fair. I mean, Giroux's not playing out of the top six. So for me, it's either Batherson or Tarasenko. And it's good problems to have, just like on defense, right? We had that great poll the other day that we'll talk about on tomorrow's show briefly and just the results of it. But I'm just happy that they have so many more options now. What does this mean to you before we get into who could be out? Like, does this put a lot more pressure on the Järventie, Sokolov, Crookshank trio? Because somebody has to be taken out of this group that's making over $1 million. So it can't be an entry-level guy. One of them has to be a productive bottom six player next year.
I think this really hurts Igor Sokolov right now, especially without a contract. Sokolov he's not a guy that makes sense on the fourth line. I'm sorry. He's not able to do what he needs to do in 7 minutes and playing with guys like Casti and Kelly. It's just the truth. Like I'm not trying to offend anyone or put labels on anyone. I just think that is the truth. He's not going to succeed there. He needed an opportunity to play on the third line. I don't see a scenario where he beats out many of those guys, except the one guy I had bounced up was Ridley Gregg. But
right,
Ridley Gregg is a guy I could see playing on a second line. Igor Sokolov, I don't think the Ottawa Senators are comfortable having him in a top six, with the caveat being with additions of Kubalik and Tarasenko after moving to Brinket out. If those guys weren't there, maybe. But with Igor without a contract right now, man,
I know it's tough.
I feel for him, because that's tough.
Yeah, watching basically a similar type player in terms of the style. I'm not saying that he has the resume of Tarasenko. It'd be impossible to, but it is a tough moment unless you figure somebody has to be on their way out. Maybe that opens up the opportunity once again. But
even with somebody on the way out, Ross, there's not a lot of room in this top nine anymore.
I mean, there is a world where he can beat out Zach McEwen and play on the fourth line. He knows going to camp what kind of player he needs to be. If I'm Igor Sokolov and I get to camp, I'm running someone in the first game. I'm hopefully creating a opportunity to drop my gloves and show that I can answer physically. Let's remember, this DJ Smith's still the head coach of the Ottawa Senators. He needs to get DJ Smith's attention, and that's how. He needs to go and remember Chris Neal, the first shift of every game, he would run someone through the end boards.
Yeah.
It was just like clockwork. He needs to be that guy. He's got the frame to do it, but can he hunt guys down on the forecheck and be aggressive and do that? If he can, 6'4", 215, that's the type of player that in terms of a stereotype or a prototype rather, DJ Smith would love to have on the fourth line, but he has to trust him in that role. Like, you could do worse on the fourth line than having Kaslik and Sokolov if they can both be in your face offensive forecheckers. And that's what Igor has to do in training camp. He's not going to come in and go bar down on the power play and get those opportunities. He's going to have to earn them. And this is a good problem. I want to say it's from success that creates this. It hasn't been, but it's been success of bringing guys in that now it's not as easy to get a job as it was last year before. And that's just the cycle that the Sens are in right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I have the utmost confidence that Igor could beat out some of those players to get on the fourth line, but I feel like you're capping him at that point. You're not really getting to his full potential, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and Graham putting in the comments saying he's been told his whole life he needs to work on skating, not hitting. If I'm having a conversation with Igor and be like, hey, I'm going to give you the contract that you deserve here, but in exchange, you need to know how we need you to play.
Yep.
This is your contract to work for us, but as the boss, I'm saying you need to play this way. And the shot's not going anywhere with Igor, right? Like, he could still create offense like that.
Definitely.
Heck, Mark Kaslik scored 50 goals in junior. He could be a guy that's around the net buzzing, and you get that.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't get any fourth line offense except for against Detroit last year. Watson turned into Gordie Howe. Like, that's the only time that they got offense. But let's get back to Vladimir Tarasenko and what it means for the Senators cap situation. Pilsy, it's a good problem to have, but it's certainly something new as an Ottawa Senators fan being against the cap. So how can the Ottawa Senators be cap compliant and still be able to ice as competitive as a team as we think they can now with Vladimir Tarasenko in the fold? That's all coming up next. You are listening to Locked On Senators. All right, you're the Locked On Senators, wherever you get your podcasts. And shout out to the 600 people who are joining us live here as we break down Ottawa Senators news on a Thursday evening at the end of July. There's no other fan base like it. Like, come on.
Yeah, everyone in the chat, this is awesome. You guys know we love some of our favorite stuff is doing live immediate reactions, and the more people here, the chat is absolutely buzzing. So this is awesome. We can't thank you guys enough.
So what the heck are the Sens doing with $32,000 left and Shane Pinto and Igor Sokolov to sign?
I think this is of all the questions and things we're trying to work out, this is the easiest answer for me, and I don't have any doubt in my mind about this. Matthew Joseph's days as an Ottawa Senator are all but over, in my opinion. I think the writing is on the wall. Like, you can't. Pierre Dorion stuck his neck out making that Nick Paul deal, and he even said it. He wasn't really interested in trading him. Wasn't really feeling it. And then Matthew Joseph came in the conversation, and all of a sudden they had a deal like that. And what does he do? Gives him a nice 3-year deal right away. And Matthew Joseph had a terrible season. And I know some people are trying to prop up his season with advanced analytics, but even those aren't that great. Ross, we dug into it a little while ago when we were doing our organizational value rankings, trying to decide where he's going. And
he was one of our most contentious of where to rank, because I was like, man, like, he's already an NHLer. And you're like, yeah, but he had as many even strength goals as you and I last year.
Yeah, and he's getting a pretty good contract. And look, that's not to say I don't believe in Matthew Joseph. We've seen what he can do. When he came to Ottawa, he was popping off. He has all the skills. He's a young player still. He's got good size, good speed. I really believe that he can be a good player. It's just, it didn't work out. And look, the Ottawa Senators are making it clear. Like, I feel like most teams would have cleared the cap space, then done this. The Ottawa Senators are doing this in reverse order. And I do think there's some strategy to this, but at this point, like, I know people in the comments are saying Branny. I think that would be such a mistake to move Branny right now. Like, look, you have Joseph, a guy who you just acquired a winger for, and he's just had a terrible year. You need to move him on a down year. The answer is not to move Brandstrom, who just had a big year for his standards and is not a winger that you've replaced, right? So that, I don't know. I'm completely out on the idea of moving Brandy to clear cap space. I just think that would be such a bad move. Because look, where do we finish with the forwards if Joseph stays? You're going to have Joseph making $3 million playing on the fourth line?
Yeah. You know why? Because you got to have somebody who wants to take him, and I'm done giving away draft picks to mop up mistakes.
Yeah, I look, obviously you don't want to do that, but I don't give a damn about draft picks, Ross. This team is trying to make the playoffs. I don't care about draft picks. And for everyone saying, oh, Dorion's a terrible GM, look at all these mistakes he's made. Yeah, you're going to make mistakes as a GM. You got to take risks. It's not always going to work out. And look, for every blunder and every mop-up trade he's made some pretty damn good ones that have worked out well for this team as well. So I just feel like, look, I would rather two wrongs don't make a right. Like, I would rather you clear up that wrong and get rid of it rather than add on another issue and or take away a positive just so you don't have to do take away a negative here, right? I don't know. Maybe I jumbled that up, but that I thought that made sense in my head.
Yeah, I think, no, it makes sense. I just think that they've done it enough that I think there's a fair chance that Mathieu Joseph bounces back, and there's going to be injuries that he could be one of those guys where if he does at least bounce back a bit, which he has to have more than zero. Even
I mean, you can't get any less.
Zero. He has to. But so that said, there's going to be injuries. Let him move up and down the lineup and be a guy who can be at speed on the fourth line, kill penalties. You certainly didn't bring in a penalty killer as Tarasenko, so you still need guys like that. And it's not what Brandy can't do. Is Tyler Clevin just going to go into camp and take the job?
Okay, that's a great point, but I will immediately flip that on you. We just talked about Igor, Sokolov, Ridley Gregg. There's so many more better options to replace Joseph at forward than there is better options to replace Brandy at D.
I don't know about that, though.
Clevin's played 7 NHL games.
And he's looked pretty damn good.
In 7 NHL games. This isn't me saying, this isn't me being anti-Clevin.
No, of course. But there's also other options. Like, it doesn't have to be Clevin. I think that their defensive depth on the left side is pretty decent, no?
I mean, decent as in getting a guy to play bottom pair minutes, yes. But that's not, Brandy's upside isn't that he's just a bottom pair defenseman. Brandy's upside is the versatility. I've gone over this several times. Like, he can play left, right side. He can move up and down the lineup for short spurts. Like, and if anyone wants to argue that, go to Natural Stat Trick and look at the defense pairing advanced analytics. Every single player that Brandy's played with has good Corsi numbers. Like, it's not a gimmick. It's not a fluke. Like, everyone does well with Brandstrom. So he can play penalty kill. You can put him on the power play. I'm not saying he's the best at all these things, but he's so versatile and a young defenseman. I think it would be such a mistake to get rid of him. And the thing is, I think other teams around the NHL can see Mathieu Joseph and be like, look, this isn't a bust player. We can make him work in our system. That's what the Ottawa Senators did. And I do believe if Joseph was to move on, he could have success somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because if you're trading Brandy, you're only getting back picks. And what do they need? What do they need the picks for? No,
you're right. And in a perfect world, they keep them both. I don't know how possible that is.
Yeah, but I think it's impossible. It literally is impossible because then you can't sign Pinto.
Well, right now, the projected cap space for the Ottawa Senators is $895,000. They've added Tarasenko. So 32,000. I don't know where I got that, but let's turn the page on it. It's 895,953. So with that, all of a sudden, and I'm not saying this is what they do, but they could literally, they're one of their cheapest players is Jacob Bernard-Docker or Zach McEwen. If those guys go on waivers, then aren't you able to get it? Yeah. And qualifying offers dead after, I believe it expires after a certain point.
Yeah, it does. I think 2 weeks.
Yeah. So somebody's got to go.
Yeah, somebody's got to go because There's no way the Ottawa Senators go to Pinto in his camp and say, hey, we only have $800K left. Here's a 1-year $800K deal. They wouldn't sign it.
No, I don't think so either. But I do think there's something to be said about Shane Pinto only playing 99 NHL games. He has no leverage. He needs 2 more seasons for arbitration. He has no leverage at all.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to touch on earlier. I think that was a really smart move by the Sens too, because I always thought it was going to be they're going to sign Pinto and then figure out what to do with the free space. But what they've done is they signed Tarasenko, and now they're going to Pinto and being like, "Hey, you're an RFA. We've filled our roster. We want you on this team. Here's what we can give you. Take it or leave it." And there's not, like you mentioned, there's not a lot of leverage, but that's the thing. When the players are RFAs, the teams have to flex their leverage. They have to use it. Even if you got to be a bit of a dick to do it, you have to do it, because as soon as they're UFAs, those players get the leverage and they get the power, and they can be dicks, and they can be flexing their leverage to get what they want. And that's fine. That's how the system is set up. So I think that was the proper way to do it for Pierre Dorion.
We'll see what's next. There's a lot of interesting options. I have 2 more questions here, and then we're going to get to the comments, and then we'll touch on this more as things develop, because now the next week or 2 has become super interesting, because something has to change before Shane Pinto can sign an extension with the Ottawa Senators. Who is the more impactful signing this offseason, Joonas Korpisalo or Vladimir Tarasenko?
It's Korpisalo. That's an easy answer for me.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. Over under 22 goals for Vladimir Tarasenko next year.
Over. I would even set that higher, like at least at 25.
Okay. Now, my final question: how much, if any, did the situation with Matt Murray in Toronto impact this signing? Because I don't think it's a coincidence that it happened the day after.
I don't think it's a coincidence either, Ross. And that's what we talked about. That's why we followed along with a Toronto Maple Leafs goalie arbitration case so closely, because it had major impacts. And like, look, I almost don't even want to say it, but if the Leafs did buy out Murray and you saved that 1.3, you got 2.1 to sign Pinto to a 1-year deal. You can get that done for sure. So this definitely changes things. It definitely changes things.
This changes things in a big way. And any final thoughts for you, Pilsy?
Final thoughts for me is I'm just excited that we're having good problem discussions, Ross. Like we haven't had to have good problem discussions in a long time. It's mostly been us having kind of resentful, pessimistic discussions about how terrible and how kind of non-impactful the Sens moves have been. So this is a refreshing change for us.
And this is refreshing too, because Vladimir Tarasenko spoke with several players several weeks ago. This isn't new. And his question to, I'd imagine, Brady Tkachuk, among others, is how serious are you about winning? How serious are you about winning? There is no excuses left for this Ottawa Senators team.
No, none at all. And these guys are like, Brady Tkachuk has just been on terrible teams his whole career, watching his brother have success, watching everyone else have success. Thomas Chabot, all these guys, they're sick of losing, and they know what they have is good. They've built the right culture. They have all the pieces now. There's no excuse to not have a good team. And Ross, I mean, you got to look at this and think Alex DeBrincat, how serious is he about winning? Ooh. Obviously not that serious, because he did not go to a better situation. Let's be very clear about that. So that's what, when we were talking about DeBrincat, if he wanted out, see ya. We don't want you. Vladimir Tarasenko, you want to win? You want to be here? You're welcome.
Absolutely. Is it a hot take? Okay. You talk about that, and I get it, but now I'm starting to think about Ridley Gregg, and I'm starting to think of, what if the Senators think Ridley Gregg's the third line center next year for the Sens?
So Pinto's out of the plans
I don't
completely?
know. I'm just playing. No. I'm just putting my tinfoil hat on right now.
No, I'm going to squash that right away, because if you're the Ottawa Senators management, you're looking at Tim Stützle, number 1 center. Josh Norris, number 2 center. Shane Pinto, number 3 center. Mark Kaslick, number 4 center. All of those guys are perfect for their roles. You don't want to mess that up.
Yep. No, I like it. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, have some fun.
That's fair.
We're getting a lot of people in the comments, and let's
get to some comments here. Yeah, let's do it.
Well, let's wrap up the show. We'll get to the comments. If you're listening to this in audio form, head over to YouTube and go to 36 minutes into the video, and you will be able to get to the comment corner, postcast style. The postcast can't come soon enough, and we'll have tomorrow's episode in the afternoon, probably around 5 p.m., featuring Stephen Halliday. And now plenty of questions have arisen that we'll have to dive into and get some answers for. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day. All right. Okay, we're here. It's the postcast style discussion. Great having everyone in the chat with us as well. Let's relax a little bit, Pillsy. How about this? Let's spread our wings as we take in some comments here, a little more casual style. Appreciate everyone for joining us. Great conversation and still a lot of questions here. First one comes in. It's Alex Formanton. Like, he would be the perfect addition to this team at a low cost, but it just feels like it's so eerily quiet that I don't expect him to ever play for the Senators again.
Ross, not only do I not expect him to ever play for the Ottawa Senators again, I don't expect him to play for any NHL team ever again. And I've, lots of people are talking about Formanton. He's completely out of the picture as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I mean,
like not even a chance or anything. Like it's gone.
Yeah. You think he would have got traded if anyone was interested at the deadline or at the draft, right?
And I think just with the Hockey Canada case, everything has been just punted along. We're closer to figuring out. We're closer to clearing it all up. I think the closer it gets, it's not looking positive. That's for sure.
And we heard recently that like suspensions were going to be coming, and then nothing happened. Or like teams were getting ready for that. So we don't know anything. So until
that's the thing. Like, I don't want to talk too much about it because there's been no updates. I don't know anything. You don't know anything. As far as I'm concerned, no one other than the people that are working on this investigation actively know anything more than we do. So that's where it's at.
And if you're just looking at on ice, Alex Formanton would have been like a $1 million version of Matthew Joseph. Right?
Yep.
So bit of a moot point because I don't think anything's going to be happening there. But if it did and he's cleared and it's all good, then, I mean, he'd be a heck of a player for the Sens team. We were always big fans of the way he played. So anyways, any questions anyone has, let us know. And Pillsy had a big day of farming ahead of him, so we got to rest up for tomorrow. Do you want to tease while we see if anyone has any more questions, what people can expect with Stephen Halliday tomorrow?
Yeah, it's a great chat with Stephen Halliday. This guy is such a hockey player. He talks to us from a rink inside the dressing room, just got off the ice. But yeah, it's a great chat with him. We talk about his first year in the NCAA. We talk about his dev camp, living in Ottawa with Igor. Lots of great stuff. And every single time we talk to Halliday, this is now the third time, it gets better and better and better. He gets a little more comfortable with us. He's a little more easygoing. So you're definitely going to want to tune into that episode, guys.
Oh, I can't wait. Would you rather see Tarasenko play left or right wing? This is Graham mentioning.
Easy answer for me. Vladimir Tarasenko will not be playing the left wing. I like, he's a classic Russian sniper. He's a right wing guy. That's like, you don't bring a free agent in like him and put him on the third line or put him on his off wing. Like I don't see that happening. So he's going on the right wing. Which line, I'm not sure, but it's going to be on the right side. I'm very positive about that.
Josh asking how we feel that we signed Tarasenko over Tatar. Now,
you want to hit this one first? Yeah, you hit it first.
Yeah. He's actually asking me, not you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
No.
Take it away. I'll just.
Yeah, Pillsy can just mute and go on for now. Hey, watch this. So about that signing, no. I think the numbers would have to be there. Like if it was Tatar at 1-by-1, then it would be like, oh, value. I like that. But Pilsy, if you're asking me who the better player is, it's Tarasenko.
Josh, can I chime in here?
Yeah, Josh says you can.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. No, that's my bad. I was jumping the gun there. Although I will defend myself, I immediately toss it to you anyway. So
Yeah. That's just the kind of guy you are, honestly.
that's just the kind of guy I am. Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
Michael's got a question just for you, though.
Disher. Oh, okay. Well, wait now. Oh, damn. That's a good question, Michael. But I don't want to get to that just yet. I want to go back to the previous one by Josh. I would have preferred Tatar personally, just because I thought they didn't need another top 6 guy. They just needed someone that could kind of fit in the mix. And Tatar is looking for a longer term deal, but Tarasenko is the better player. And on 1 year, just $5 million, I think it's a better fit for where the Sens are right now, especially with Kubalik only signed 1 year. There's a lot of kind of uncertainty there. So I'd rather them both have 1 year and ride it out, see how it goes, and you can figure it out after. Now, as far as Michael's question goes, I don't know if Brady will ever surpass Matthew Tkachuk in points, but he doesn't. But he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to pass him in points because he has other elements of his game that are better to him, and he doesn't play in the Florida Panthers where he needs to be the number 1 guy. There's so much scoring and point producing players on this forward group now that Brady doesn't need to have more points than his brother.
How about his dad?
I'd have to look through Walt's season by season numbers here.
Okay, I can tell you he has 1,065 points.
Oh, are we talking total points? I thought we were just talking like when will he beat him in a season?
No, total.
Oof. I think he could pass his dad total. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Heck yeah. And Walt played in the dead puck era too. I mean, he also played in like the early 90s where he was having like 98 points, 86. But then he also played where like 02, 03, 03, 04 when like nobody was point per game.
Yeah.
You had to be a superstar to be a point per game player in 03, 04. And he almost was. 71 points in 75 games. All right, that was talking Big Walt on today's Locked On Senators. Love it. Liquid Demons. Here's one for you.
Liquid Demons. All right. I've got multiple bets on them. I'll answer that question that way. The question is Sens Stanley Cup champs this year. Look, honestly, obviously, this is Locked On Senators. We are biased Sens fans. I'm drunk with elite Sens brain right now. So nothing wrong with that. Absolutely, the Sens could win the cup this year. Absolutely.
Okay. Somebody clip that.
Do it. I don't care. I'll say it again. Absolutely, the Ottawa Senators can be your 2024 Stanley Cup champions.
Last episode, I said I was going to put 5 units on the Sens to make the playoffs. I just put another 5 on it today.
Responsibly. Yes.
But
that's not the question. Did you put some bets on them to win the cup?
I will put 1 unit, maybe 2.
Okay.
I like good odds. Anthony asks, how does this increase our chances of being a top Atlantic team? Let's say top 3. Let's not get absolutely carried away just yet.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I just said they absolutely could win the cup. So me dialing it back on them winning the division seems kind of crazy at this point. But the thing is, I don't give a damn where they finished in the standings if they make the playoffs. I don't care. Florida Panthers were the worst team to make the playoffs, and they beat so many stronger, better teams all the way to the cup finals. And they might have had a fighting chance in the cup finals if half their team weren't basically walking around in casts. Like, I really think this is a scrappy enough team. I don't care if they finish in the final wild card spot and they get in by 1 point by winning a shootout game in the final game of the season. I don't care Ottawa. I don't like if they make the playoffs. They've got just as good a chance as anyone.
Well, Tarasenko had 6 points in his last 6 regular season games this year.
Sweet. Hell yeah.
Let's go. Let's vibe with that.
Let's do it.
But Big Head Hockey also posted, and it's a great Twitter account to follow.
That is a good account.
Tarasenko's got the 3rd most wrist shot goals in the last decade.
That's where I got my that's where I was using my wrist shot analogy from. And then I watched highlights of Tarasenko, and you can see it. Like,
How about Connor McDavid being first? He hasn't even played a full decade.
Dees.
Not bad. He's 10 clear of Patrick Kane, and then it's Vladimir Tarasenko, who has one more than Alex Ovechkin. Ever heard of him? Yeah, pretty good overall shooter. Ian asking, any concern over DJ leading a sniper-heavy forward group? I think it can only help.
Yeah, this is a fair concern. I mean, DJ Smith, definitely a pace and kind of physical type coach. But look, I've said it and I'll say it again. I think DJ Smith deserves a chance to have a real roster before we can judge him. Like, if you want to go back and say, here's his road record, here's his November record, here's the special teams or whatever. Like, I'm not really buying that. Like, you can use last year as an example, but everything else is, I'm not putting that into the equation. So I think he deserves a chance.
Billsy, a question for you.
Billsy, what's your opinion on Zaitsev switching the goalie for the upcoming season? I mean, if I'm the Chicago Blackhawks, I'm doing that. Like, that's a great way to tank.
Yeah.
Or who knows? Maybe he's good at it.
No, who knows? To get to Ian's question, though, and appreciate you reaching out, Ian. But no, I don't have that much concern, but I will say this. He's got a playoff roster right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the thing. And we said it about the team. We'll say it about the coach. We'll say it about the general manager. We'll say it about the fans. No excuses. Everybody's got to be pulling this ship towards playoffs, and there's no excuses. None.
Anthony also asked, you play Tarasenko with Timmy and Brady. Like, that's not the worst thing in the world, which is exactly
that's the line I gave.
Yeah, that's where you had it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
smart guy.
Andrew Foster asked, over under 97 points for the Ottawa Senators that next year. Like, that would probably be around third. Just to put that in context, that would have been the first wild card last year by a mile. It would have been 1 point out of Tampa, who had 98 points and was third in the division.
Yeah, 97 is a good number.
Last year, their over-under on FanDuel was set at 86.5, and they finished with 86.
I know. Yeah, you don't have to tell me that. Man, that was tough. You know what? I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to say they get 97 points on the dot.
Wow. I mean, that's playoffs.
Yeah.
That's playoffs.
Actually, I like that. Yeah, I think they're getting 97 points on the dot.
Yeah. So who gets a cup first, Brady or Matthew?
Brady.
Yeah,
Brady.
I'm taking my guy. My guy, whether
Brady.
I believe it or not. I'm taking my guy. How would we set up the power plays, Lord Donk Lord?
This is an entire episode, so we're not going to get into this now. But that is a great question, Lord Donk Lord.
Are you going to tell me how you set up the first power play unit?
No.
Davey's asking. Davey says, just give me one. Just give me one unit.
Okay, you take this.
Just
you take this, Ross.
Okay, I mean, lock, key, man, just tie his skate blades to the front of the net on the power play. It's Brady Tkachuk. There's no doubt. Right in front.
Just put bungee cords on Brady and tie them to the post, so he can't get much farther than that. That's fine.
I would have Claude Giroux as my bumper guy.
Love it.
In the middle. Then I've got Norris in the one-timer position.
Of course.
I probably put Jake Sanderson on top.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put Tim Stützle on his strong side on the left side. Now, that's a lot of lefties. That's 4 lefties out there. Claude Giroux's the only righty. Everyone at the top of the umbrella is lefty. But if I'm going to have a lefty, I want him to be the most agile guy on the team, and that's Stützle. He can turn around and be able to shoot. So, in a perfect world, would we have one more righty out there? Yeah. But that ain't Tarasenko.
That's the thing.
That ain't Kubalik.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting because it's not like all their top defensemen are lefties too, who you'd have on the power play.
Yeah.
Zub's not going out there first. Hamonic?
I was just about to say Hammer. Get him beaver tapping on the second unit.
It will be it's probably most likely would be Drake would be the second righty out there.
On the top unit?
But you'd put him in the bumper spot.
But then you're just replacing Giroux, so you're not adding another righty. Yeah.
And you're not putting Giroux as a one-timer option when you have Norris. And you're not taking Timmy off the top unit.
I think you nailed it. I think that's PP1.
What I initially said.
Yeah.
And you just work with all the lefties.
Yeah, because then what happens? You put Batherson on there for, I'm not even going to say who you'd swap out, but then your second power play unit is all lefties. So
I think we're kind of making a bit of a case for Igor to make this team somehow, because they have the entire second unit is also lefties.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Batherson would be the only righty on the second unit too.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, you'd probably have Pinto in front of the net too. He's righty.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fair.
But then up top, Shabbat, Chikrin, and Kubalik, probably, or Tarasenko.
No, Tarasenko is getting on one of these units.
Totally. Interesting. No, that's a great question. And like we were saying, this is a whole episode type thing. I think I saw someone, is it Zach earlier, mentioning that he wants to go to the home opener. Stay tuned. Tickets are coming for the
book those days off work. And I said, you'll notice I said days. You're going to want that Sunday off too.
Oh, yes. Well, to go to the second game.
Yeah, I was more saying to recover, but yes, you're going to want to go to the second game too.
Steve asks, can we keep Tarasenko for more than 1 year? I mean, this is 32-year-old season. I think you just play it by ear.
Yeah, I didn't want to have to do this, but pessimistic Pillsy's coming out. I'm not anticipating Tarasenko stays beyond this.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
You got him for free.
Exactly. Yeah, for free.
He's a hired gun.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. That's why I'm so okay with this, because I was fine with the roster coming in here. And Sarah, oh no, you missed it.
Oh no.
But the Senators just needed a hired gun, and they got a hired sniper with Tarasenko. So I am stoked. I don't care about next year.
Can you please enlighten Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah, so sorry. We tried to figure out how we're paying Pinto, but that discussion is not over. We did go over that discussion, so you did miss it. But you can check it out tomorrow.
And it's not easy.
Somebody's
got to go. Your favorite player might get traded.
What?
Her favorite player might get traded. Somebody's got to go. It's not easy.
I don't think, depending on who Sarah's favorite player is, I don't think anyone's favorite player on the Sens is getting traded.
Really? I think Matthew Joseph has some diehard fans.
But favorite?
No.
I don't know.
I almost wear my Zoob shirt. I almost wore it tonight. Shout out Doodling Daryl. Now we got
a couple comrades.
Do you think it's a coincidence that Eugene Melnyk kind of steps away from being the everyday overseeing control, and all of a sudden we get Russians back on the team?
Yeah.
They made an exemption for Zaitsev, though.
Yeah.
You're right, Sarah. Sarah's favorite player is Brady Tkachuk. He ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Can
we predict the Joseph trade? No, I saw some people on Twitter. I wish I could give credit. Only credit we can give out to is Ethan for breaking this deal early this morning.
Yeah, credit to Ethan. Credit to Ethan. I'll take a quick stab at this. I can see Joseph moving for a late draft pick.
Oh, I think they have to sweeten it.
Nah, I don't think so.
How about Joseph in a fourth? I heard that can get you something.
Get you Nick Paul. Yeah, I think they can get him for a low draft pick. I don't think they're going to have to sweeten it.
Yeah. I do think he's going to bounce back, though. I think Joseph.
So do I. That's why I think other teams are going to take the option there.
KA with a fair assessment too. Pierre's never had to deal with being up against the cap as a GM.
Yep, it's super easy to tear down a team and start rebuilding. It's very easy to do that. Now, how can you handle it when he's putting all his chips in here, all of them, they're going to be up against the cap here. So, but for Pierre and DJ, this is it. You don't get any more excuses. You don't get any more time. You don't get any more, the team wasn't there, they're rebuilding. You don't get that anymore. Now you got to show what you can do with a proper roster. Let's see it.
How many games did we say the Sens have until they go to Europe?
I forget. I think it was somewhere around 15. We were always using the 15 game mark as our
13
goalpost. Okay.
Games 14 and 15 are overseas. One's at 2 p.m. for me, and the other's at 11 a.m. Okay. We'll live. Not an 11 a.m. start. But anyways, noon Eastern for everyone listening in Eastern time. That's a my problem situation. But I think that now I think I said like just ahead of 500. I think the coach has less of that. I think you got to win. And especially look how many of them are home games. In the first 13 games of the season before they go overseas, they have 4 road games. 4 road games. That's it.
Yep.
And it's an easy trip. They open the season in Carolina. Like, that's not an easy game, but like, it's not like they're on like a long trip. Then they come home and play 5 in a row. Then they go to play the Islanders and the Penguins, not back to back. Then they come home for 2 more. Then they just go to Toronto and then come home to play Vancouver on the second half back to back.
My rebuttal to, and I agree, DJ Smith's leash has to be short.
7 wins.
But the rebuttal, and I want to be right there with you, bold like that, Ross, and I agree with you. But it is not smart management to fire a coach just to fire a coach without a better replacement. Because you fire DJ Smith, he doesn't get it done. Cool. Who's coming in? And then you got to get a team used to a whole new coach, probably new assistants if the head coach is going. Like, I don't think it's a smart move just to pull the carpet from under just for the sake of doing that.
Right.
Hate to be that guy, but
no, you're right. But I think there's more reason than just that. Like, there's reason why you'd fire.
Definitely, but if you're trying to have a successful season, you better have a guy you think is better to replace him. And I'm not saying there isn't guys out there or that's not possible.
There's one going in the comments quite a bit.
I think there's multiple options that are better, but can you make it work? Can you get it done? That's the question.
Hopefully it doesn't matter. Hopefully they win
exactly
the first 15 games and it's all good. Everyone feels good. And Lauer, how much do you think he had to do with this? Do you think he knew the whole way? He has to.
Yeah. And I keep going back to my question to Dorian, and then after I was like, oh man, that was a bad question. Of course he's going to answer like that. But that was a politically correct answer from Dorian. I really do believe that
PR Dorian.
Yeah, like so I'm giving myself a little grace on that one because I do think that was a good question because I do think that Lauer is more involved than he theoretically is supposed to be.
Where do you think Tarasenko is going to rank among Senators in points this year? We'll leave it at that one today. PJ4 writing in 3rd, 4th, 5th.
Do you want to hit this one first?
I think if the Sens are going to
let's work backwards, like top down.
Sure, Stützle at 1.
Well, we don't even have to rank them. It's will he get more points or not than this player? Stützle.
No.
Correct.
Brady Tkachuk.
No.
Claude Giroux.
No.
Drake Batherson.
I think he could get more points than Drake
That's
Batherson.
close. Josh Norris?
If Josh Norris is healthy, I'm saying no.
Okay. Kubalik?
Yes.
Ooh,
so
how about Thomas Chabot?
Yes.
How about Jacob Chikrin?
Yes.
Okay. So you have him at 6th then on the team.
No, 5th.
Yeah.
I got 4 guys ahead of him. Timmy, Brady, Giroux, and Norris.
Okay. I think Batherson's going to have 65 plus points this year.
I think he could do it for sure, but I think he's going to be the guy that ends up going to the 3rd line.
Right. I think being a righty is going to help Drake out.
True.
There's just so many lefties up front, on the back, everywhere. There's so many lefties.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got a lefty on tomorrow's show. Stephen Halliday, the disher, will join us. And he's one step closer to the Hobey Baker because Logan Cooley signed today with the Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. Hobey Halliday sounds super sick. Let's make it happen here.
I love it.
Appreciate everyone for joining us abruptly on a Thursday night at the end of July. Doesn't get any better than that, Pills. It really doesn't.
Yeah, this has been awesome. I've had a stressful day, so this is a great way to unwind and hang out with the rest of Sens fans to celebrate some solid Sens news and to try to figure out the good problems that this team has. So thank you to everyone that's been in the chat. This has been awesome.
a reminder, you can follow the show on Twitter at Send Central. You can subscribe on YouTube. It really does help go a long way for the algorithm. Throw us on in the background when you're working. Even if you have to mute us every once in a while, just let them play. Let them play. It does go a long way to helping us out. Be a friend. Tell a friend that your friend should subscribe to Locked On Senators. Do it for family members. The subscriptions are absolutely free, but it does go a long way to help us out. Leave comments in the videos. These are all ways you can help grow the show. We are gearing up for season 5. Pilsy and I have done 848 episodes and never, ever, ever covered a playoff game with Locked On Senators. That's sad.
Yeah, Ross, just before you fully wrap up, to add on to that, I have never been to a Sens playoff game in my life.
That's wild. I didn't go in 2017 though. Did I go in 20?
Yeah, you've been in your lifetime. I've never seen the Sens play playoffs live.
My last Sens playoff game, Thomas Vokoun beat them in round 2 in 2013.
Oh, we got to change that.
Had like 3 or 4 points.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, we started making sense of the Sens in time for the 2017 playoff run, but we only joined Locked On at the start of 2019. So this is something they need to do. This is the year it has to happen. Come on.
It's got it.
For us, selfishly.
Yes, please.
For us. But
for all of us.
For today, we say goodbye. Thank you so much all for joining us. Adam, appreciate the shekels in the hat, as we say. And this is just the postcast vibes. They're coming back. Yeah. We've got an absolutely fantastic interview coming with Stephen Halliday on Friday. Next week, Mark Mathot will return. We've got a Send Central citizen, and I turned 31 on Friday. Oh boy. Woo. For today, though, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Thank you for joining a very special edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day. Now, this music got me so fired up on the way in.
Oh, yeah.
This has to be the live music when we start.
I love it.